why it's not working right now. Anyways, so this is the carrier series. In tier 10, it's just, you know, big carrier, lots of planes, 137 aircraft. Basically what you run, oh, there goes YouTube, is commanders on here. Depending on your play style and who you listen to, your commanders can vary greatly. So let's go over the basics with your carrier. Tier 10, really in the American series, not much to research. Once you get it, you're set and golden, which is nice because then you're not having to grind it to get better. Now, Germany, no carrier. Germany didn't do carriers. Japan has the Chanel. Also, Shinano, excuse me. Once you get there, you're golden. British carrier, the Illustrious, starts out 9. You know, Project Malta, you know, starts out at 10, but then you get an engine upgrade. So that's the only thing you really have on there, and it's pretty quick to get to. I mean, everything else is set. China has nothing, Italy has nothing, and France has only the sub. So, dealing with the American line, I personally like the airplanes from America, but they're all each individually different. Each country has different stats for their planes, some up, some down. You know, it really depends on your commander style. So going back to port here. What you add to your carrier definitely is you want what's called the drop tank. It increases aircraft range by 20%. That's imperative. It means planes stay out longer. From there, generally you can pick. I generally pick, where is it? This guy. The anti-aircraft director increases MG hit rate by 5%, meaning your natural MGs that are always firing get a 5% hit chance. That's a lot better. And then steering, I like, because when people throw torps at you or shoot at you and you need to move, that's a great way to do it. You can... no point in doing this. You've got planes. Neither of those really matter. I mean, you do have a shit ton of deck guns. You have 18 deck guns on the American one, but, I mean, if you're getting into a gunfight in a carrier, you've severely messed up. Boiler preheater might be the switch to electronic hydro steering gear because you can move faster from a dead stop, but generally I keep my ship going at least at quarter speed all times. Heavy armor kind of helps, keeps you from getting pelted pretty good, but again, it slows you down by 10% and you're already kind of a big slow thing. So do what you want, but definitely drop tank and anti-air are huge. I just happen to like the steering to be able to steer the thing out of shots and torpedoes range. Commanders are what make up the bulk of this. And the way to explain this is commanders have a battle power. So if we're looking at this in the sense of aircraft carrier, which is funny because they don't show some. You see how you've picked for aircraft carrier, but my commander Yamamoto Yusuroku doesn't show up for carrier commanders, despite the fact that he is a carrier commander, like fantastically as such. But with that being said, let's start with the commander. So the commander is Yamamoto, which I like, simply because when he's at 5-star, he's level 198. Now, battle power for the commander for this entire ship is imperative, and this is super important for carriers, folks. Let me because the higher this battle power, the higher everybody else does. Now, if you notice, you can, at 4-star, you've got Admirals chosen for the commander ability. Reduce reload of all weapons by 10%. So primaries, MG, AA, you know, basically if you get new shit pickle. Big thing is it increases damage by 10% as well, and reduces flight deck reload time by 15% for 45 seconds. For almost a minute, your flight deck goes faster and you hit harder. So sometimes when you're in a punch-out contest near the end, this is going to be huge for you. Forthright is kind of cool. Grants a 5% chance to increase steering performance by 15 and increase scouting range by 500 meters for allies within 800 meters when ship is over 30 knots. Kind of helps your allies. Scouting 500 meters is pretty cool. It you know, a little extra vision is not bad. Disguise by 2, you know, that's nice when you're at range, helps you stay hidden a little bit. The Blitzkrieg is fantastic. It's when your captain increases speed of all types of shipboard aircraft by 5 and decreases by 8. So automatically your planes are 5% faster and you reload almost 10% faster at all times. Bitch and move. Dive bombing, bomb aiming device increases dive bomber accuracy by 10%. Now, when you're hunting DDs, dive bombers are your best bet because they smash through that armor like nobody's business. Now, dive bombers on big ships like carriers and others are really good too. But when he gets to 5-star, not only does his battle power jump to 200, almost 200, which is the highest this game had a preset for, is your Hawkeye. Your disguise is dropped for Hawkeye, which is boss. Because now your scout planes and your fighter planes can be outside of the area of engagement for AA and still see the ship, which means your planes don't get shot down, but you can still see the ship, which is fantastic. But his battle power being 198 increases other commanders' CP will be higher because I'm only 4-star. CP regeneration will be higher, and it raises, really important, right here at the bottom, aircraft dodge percent. 60%. Naturally, your planes are now 60% better at dodging. What's important is when he's at 5-star and your gunner's at 5-star, that can be up to 75%, I believe, is the max that can be. I'll have to check the percent stats again, but if you have both of those at 5-star, I believe it's really close to 75, or might be just underneath there. However, artillery, accuracy, aiming, reload, and deck reload, another huge static increase between the two commanders. So not only are you naturally 8% from the commander, you're also another 6% from the static, which means right there you're at 14% reload on your deck, 14% faster. It means your planes load just that much faster. Now, when both of those guys are 5-stars, that deck reload speed I think hits 8% at max, just because that's what 198 and 198 will do. You know, Raymond Spruance is probably one of the best gunner positions for carriers because he's got a huge battle power when he's at 5-star. Right now, I have to level him up. So, Raymond Spruance, where are you? There you are. So, see at 5-star, 10, he's 198, just like Yamamoto, which will increase that deck reload and everything. So, at 4-star, ignore emergency dispatch. However, you know, a lot of people like using emergency dispatch because cooldown time by 30% and increases aircraft speed by 10 for a minute. Pretty cool, but it's a 2-minute cooldown. So, you know, as it trades off, ship repair speed potential is decent, but Hawkeye is huge. Increases reload speed for planes by 3% and increases dive bomber accuracy by 10. Coupled with Yamamoto, your Sirocco, that means your airplanes now have 400 meters better scouting, and their bomber accuracy is 20% greater. That's huge. And then your aircraft deck now is 8, let's just say 8, 7, and 5. So that's what? 8 and 7, that's 15, 16, that's almost 20% reload speed cut down just between those two commanders and their static ability. That gives you a huge edge on getting your planes out faster. And that's important as a carrier, to get your planes out first and keeping their planes on the other side. Now, the last 3, you really kind of pick and choose what you want. Whoops. James Johnson, a lot of people like to run him as the commander. The problem is your natural reload, I do not believe you can jump above 75% dodge rate. So I don't really see him being a good commander, and especially with only 2 minutes on a cooldown. I mean, you get to use it a lot because it's only a 2, so you can start that right out the gate. When your fighters or an attacker destroys an enemy aircraft, Spitfire proxies, 5% steering and performance for 30 seconds. Fighter damage is huge. Dodge rate, another 2%, and all airboards can maneuver better. Coupling that with torp planes and dive bombers, you can change their aerial accuracy pretty quickly. So, you know, he also has a huge battle power at 195, so he's a great commander. Level 4 circle training is only 2, but you get to legendary, it jumps it to 5, which is good. No Hawkeye from him, but you already have 400 meters, which I'll show you their scouting range, and I'll explain that in a second. NOA is one I use. The reason being is if you watch his down thrust to air attack warning, when increases speed of all aircraft that take off by 8% when an enemy is hit by dive bombers. When air attack warning proxies because you've dive bombers on a carrier or battleship, all airplanes are now 8% faster after that hit. So those in the air being taken off are going to be great, you know. And I don't know what the cooldown on it is. I don't remember the exact time. Toughness 2 for your ship. That's great. Down thrust is great for your dive bombers. And sea flight, disguise of all airplanes by 1.5%. This is actually something that's really awesome, that keeping your planes hidden. You know, it doesn't sound like a lot. Excuse me, 1 second. Excuse me. But keeping your planes hidden is huge because they're not spotted as easily. Now you bump him up to legendary, cross ocean bombardment comes into play. It removes down thrust training, but you increases durability of bombers, torp and planes by 5. So now your planes are 5% more health and 1.5 more disguise. And your aiming speed for dive and torp bombers is 8%, meaning they're quicker to accurate and more lined up. It's huge. That's why I like him a lot, because he gives a bonus to your bombers and your disguise and your ship durability, whoop-de-doo, and then air attack warning. Plus decently high power. Now, John Clarkston, where are you? You're a 4-star. You know, Nimitz is 1, but I mostly use him on cruisers, actually. But we'll go over that in a second. Where are you, Jeremy Clarkston? Or John Clarkson. So John I know, a lot of people don't use him. A lot of people do. I like the dive bomber accuracy jumping to 30% plus the 8%, so it's really like 38% for dive bombers. Aiming speed increase, hydroplane drop down, and that. Now, I'm starting to run more dive bombers on the bigger tiers to bring my planes in and dive bomb the hell out of them because it starts fires and fucks people up pretty good. Torp bombers are still great because they're if you get a good line, it's pretty brutal, but dive bombers are great, especially against DDs early game. You know, you use the dive bombers and fighters early game, and then you take out their DDs, then you bring out your torp planes. So it's a good mix of all of them, because torp planes with DDs just very rarely, unless you catch an idiot with his pants down, don't work out that well. Now, a lot of people ask about, let's see, where are you? Are they 2-star? I think they're 2-star. Yeah. You have Doolittle. Doolittle increases your disguise, down thrust, and Hawkeye. So, you know, there's a little bit of another scouting range from him at level 10. Horrific battle power. Disguise doesn't really do good, and you've already got air attack warning, and it doesn't double stack, unfortunately. Takajiro is another really bad battle power. If you notice, his ground service training increases dive bombers, decreases airship speed. Cross island attack is pretty cool. Shooting range, artillery, and torpedoes by 10% when the decrease flight depth by 10 when your ship's weapons hit an enemy. It's alright. Not something I would use very often. Let's see. Futita Mitsudo is big for people that like to use torp bombers, especially as the captain, because of his cooldown. Pearl Harbor Hawk. Tora is pretty much just like the other one, except it's specific. It's not dive bomber, or it's not bombers. It's torpedo specifically. Increases circle training, bad battle power, dodge chance by 2, and increases the speed of all planes by 5. So, I mean, you kind of get a bonus there, which isn't really necessarily a bad thing, but I just don't see him being that good compared to the others. Let's see. Is there anybody here? No, we did Kurita. But yeah, that's really kind of where it's at. You know, for commanders, I'll alternate him out as I need. But for the most part, you know, because Raymond is the good gunner because of the high battle power, like I said. Chuichi is also a decent one. Circle training switches to Kudiman. This is really actually not that bad, and he has also a significantly high battle power. Home run grants a 10% chance to increase all by 8 when an enemy ship has been hit by dive bombers or torpedo bombers. So that's better than Futita and the other one that just, you know, one or the other. Plus, it's immediate. Not a takeoff, not a nothing. It's immediate 8%, but it's a low 10% chance to go. But you've got all those proxies going off between dive and torpedo bombers. Kudimane, which is maneuverability by 3 and flying speed by 3, which means maneuverability is if you miss the arc, you get the turn, which is huge. Armor, durability of all shipboard aircraft by 3. You couple that with the other one, and deck armor by 5. That's cool. Not really anything for you to worry about. But durability of all shipboard aircraft by 3, coupled with... where are you? You're 3-star. Where did I see you? Where are you? Oops, I did 2-star. I'm retarded. Durability, that means 8% more durability for your planes when he's a level 5 too. So that means your planes have 8% more health, which is huge. That means you live longer. Better dodge, better life. So, you know, Inoue, I kind of switch out with him, you know, because 30% it's decreasing the gains at that point. So running Chuichi at the end there is not such a bad thing, and like I said, he has a huge battle power. So that's big. You know, even at excellent steering performance by 2% coupled with the other 3%, not bad. So yeah. So that's basically a rundown of what you're dealing with aircraft carriers and how awesome they can be. You know, so if you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave the comments, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Anyways, that's just a quick rundown. Nothing very specific. You know, plane count, we can go over that. You know, anyways, thanks, guys.